Boom, we're live. All right. All right, Vince. Dude, a lot going on in boxing this week. With the from the Olympics to Crawford, Riyadh season coming up. I can't wait for this weekend. But first I want to address the boxing, the women's boxing in the Olympics. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, all day it's probably been like the number one topic on X with supposedly. I mean, I've read a lot about it. So basically this is what happened. The IBA last year banned Iman Khalif from international competition because they did a chromosome test, and the chromosome showed up as XY, which is male. And so they were banned from international competition. They did not compete last year, or they competed and were stopped for the gold medal. So they were not allowed to compete once the test came back. So the IOC comes in and bases their gender off of their passports, right? So the earlier today, the IBA wrote a letter to the IOC complaining about the fact that they overturned their decision to not allow Khalif to compete. I've tried to stay out of anything dealing with that because it's always a hot button. It's a third rail kind of thing for a lot of people because you get attacked for anything that's not pro allowing men to compete against women. But boxing is like, this is a sport I love. This is something that I want to see proliferate, and I want to see the sport grow. And this is just a black mark on the sport, given the fact that the IBA, which is it's a global governing body for amateurs, and the fact that XY chromosome is competing against XX chromosome, and I'm just going to keep it at that because I don't want to touch the gender stuff or the naming. Men, XY chromosomes, we have more bone density, we're bigger, we're stronger. And a woman, it's one thing if you're swimming in a pool, it's a whole nother thing, man, when you're hitting somebody in the face. And I felt bad for that. I felt bad for the Italian girl. What's her name? Angelina Carina. She took a couple brutal shots, and you could see that. I mean, they moved her pretty well, and then she just decided to stop, and she didn't want to get hit by those punches anymore. I just feel like it's the safety of the fighters. This is a sport where people several times a year, fighters get either severely injured to where it's long-term mental damage or damage to their brains, or they die. It happens a lot. And for a man or someone who has larger bone density, more muscle, more weight, just stronger, to hit somebody in the face like that, to hit somebody in the body, I don't agree with that at all. Just from a physical standpoint, you don't allow, like Ryan Garcia was just banned for a year for doing drugs, or for his steroid policy. So if we ban men from taking steroids to have an advantage, I mean, this is a massive advantage, and it's dangerous, and it's something that should not be messed with of all sports, right? Combat sports, you're in there trying to take somebody's head off, and if you have that massive advantage, I feel like it's a black mark on the sport that we shouldn't have. This shouldn't be like, we should be celebrating boxing this week because of what's going on with the Riyadh season in LA, and we have such an amazing card, and all the everything's been talking about just that, these guys competing, or these XY competing in the Olympics,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you said it right there. Like, I mean, men are just biologically different than women, and they should not be competing in sports, mainly combat sports, for, if anything else, because of those things. And, it's dangerous, and people die in our sport. But this to me also goes back to like just Olympic boxing as a whole. It's not what it used to be. Now they have a select number of ways to come in. Everything with Olympic boxing has been way off for a long time. So I'm not really surprised that they let this slip between the cracks, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know how the IOC works, but to me, when it comes to the Olympics, you really have to leave politics and all these other, these things about, the equality of recognizing people with what they identify as, and all that's good. And I have nothing against any of that. People can
100%.
identify as whatever they want, but in sport is made a certain way for a reason. Men fight men for a reason. Women, compete against women for a reason.
Right.
This is one of those things where, I mean, if enough, it just seems like if enough people are okay with it, they'll let it happen, and then they'll figure out what to do if something goes wrong later. And fortunately, Karina, the Italian girl, did not get hurt severely, but I mean, almost did. And so now all we can do is try to figure out a way to make sense of all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is this even a question? What kind of tests? And again, like I said, whatever somebody identifies as, that's their business and their right to it. I have nothing against that. But when it comes to sport, we have to draw a line somewhere, especially combat sports and sports where somebody could get severely hurt. So, but to me, the whole Olympic system is broken anyway. And so especially in boxing, I mean, now we don't even have as many weight classes. Now the way they select these guys and in boxing as a whole, I mean, for being one of the most lucrative sports in the world, we are the one sport that has a minor league per se with the amateurs that does not prepare guys to be professional boxers because it's so much different. But that's a whole nother story. But when it comes back to this about the men and women competing against each other, it's like, it's all great to debate and it's all this and all that and it's all speculatory until somebody gets really, really hurt or dies.
Yeah.
And hopefully that doesn't have to happen before people can wake up and separate sport from politics, I guess you would say. So, I mean, that's how I have to see. I just got to shake my head when I watch that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of Olympic boxing just for other reasons, but this is just another one. It's a black eye, of course, on the sport, but it's a black eye. They've had black eyes. The Olympic boxing their eyes are almost shut. So, and obviously they are shut, because the IOC is allowing something like this to happen. But, I guess we'll just see how this plays out. I don't know if there's any more men or formal men that are competing against women, but I guess we're going to wait and see.
Yeah, there's two. There's a fighter from Taiwan that fights tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday, August 1st. So Friday, August 2nd. There's a fighter. There's another XY fighter that's going tomorrow. So I mean, the possibility. So this is the last Olympics for boxing. Like we're out after, right? So this is how we're going out.
Might as well be.
Yeah. So this is the last Olympics for boxing. It's no longer going to be an Olympic sport, and it could go down in history that we have two in the for the gold medal bout in the women's. It'll actually be possibility of being two men or two XY, chromosomes fighting each other, and all the XX chromosome, all the women will be out, and the years. I mean, I know a fighter who right now who is he's not old enough yet to turn to be in the Olympics, or so he's going to wait for. He wanted to wait, and then that's it. So these guys they train from childhood to get in, and they want to, they dream of gold medals. And for these girls, their dreams are over. That's it, right?
Yeah,
and so
it's a terrible thing. That's not what the Olympics were initially made for their test of sport, you know what I mean? And where you pit together people that are equally able to compete against each other. I mean, women are fabulous athletes as in their own right, but it's like you said, it's a fundamental difference. So
Yeah.
especially in boxing.
Yeah.
So no problem for me. I've been watching Olympic boxing for a little while now. So hopefully they can clean it up and fix things back to the days when we had some real great fighters coming out of the Olympics, and we had a really great system. But unfortunately, that's not the time we live in. So
Yeah.
but we have some great professional fights coming up too.
Yeah, that's a great transition. Here, let me pull it up.
Riyadh season.
I'm so stoked on this card. I mean, I really hope. I was really hoping, and I'm still hoping that by the time it's done, that some casual fans will tune in for a top to bottom great card.
I think so. I think that the popularity of everything's really starting to hit the forefront. The promoters are changing, fighters are changing. The way that their promoters changing. It's a lot more interactive. You see guys like Eddie Hearn out there doing a lot more, a different variety of platforms, and Terence Crawford's really come out of his shell and embraced, this superstar persona that they want to put on him, and well deserved as well. So this card, top to bottom, is very 1980s Don King-esque. You know what I mean? Where you have essentially 3 or 4 main events. So I'm excited, and I think it's a great thing that they're doing with that Turkey El Sheikh and Riyadh season. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I only wish it was out here in Vegas so I could be in the same town and go to the fights. But
I don't think it's going to be long. It'll be there soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. I think the fighters would prefer that too, because they it's a fun town because everybody, not only do you come for the fights, but you come for Vegas, right? So you get all the benefits, and then the fighters don't have to pay taxes.
Yep, that's it, brother.
State taxes. So, who's your which fight are you looking forward to the most?
Well, obviously, I want to see Bud Crawford just move up. He's going up to 154 against a big, strong guy. You know what I mean? Madrimov. I'm looking forward to that fight. I mean, hey, look, if you're not looking forward to seeing Pitbull, Cruz, and Rail, I mean, you're not a boxing fan. I mean, anytime Pitbull's in there and you get a guy like Rail, who likes to get in there and mix it up as well, you got a great fight with that. I mean, Andy Ruiz and Big Baby Miller, come on. These guys are throwing some heavy meat hooks, you know what I mean? And, guys coming up too, guys that we really don't know much of, they're going to get a lot of exposure, like Morrell, the Cuban former super middleweight, to move it up to light heavyweight, fighting for an interim belt. And then, you got the Cuban guy, the 135-pounder, Andy Cruz, he's going to be featured as well. From a competitive standpoint, I think Cruz.
This is an old one too. This is an old one. So Tinsu and Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah, they're not on there anymore. But yeah,
that would be amazing if they were.
Yeah, I believe there's another one on the two. Terence Crawford's stablemate, Steve Nelson, is actually fighting on the card as well.
Yeah.
He's a 19-0 super middleweight. He's fighting, and he's a real sleeper too. Steve hasn't been that active, but he's a real tough guy. He's been a tough out for a lot of people, and he's undefeated still. I believe he's fighting a undefeated kid from Mexico. I cannot remember his name, but that should be a good fight as well. But if you want to go, with action, you come on, Big Baby Miller and Andy Ruiz. Neither of those guys are running. I don't even think those guys do run, literally, in training. So they're coming right to the middle of the ring. It's on.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah, and Bud, and this might not be so popular, but part of me, even though Bud is moving up to 154 pounds and they're questioning, strength and whatnot, this fight, don't be surprised if this fight is just a complete wash. You know what I mean? Nothing taking nothing away from Madrimov. He's a hell of a fighter. Yeah, a hell of a fighter. He had a hell of an amateur background. But, the pros are a little different. And Bud Crawford, I mean, you're right there. You're messing with an all-time great. You know what I'm saying? I mean, from lightweight to junior welterweight. I've seen him in camp. I've seen him with big guys, and sparring's different, but just his skill level. And I mean, you look at his last four. With you got Spence, Avenesi, and Porter, Brook. And I know those guys are. They're maybe at 147, but you go over on the other side. This guy's got like Kurbanov and Aguiloki, and the only guy I recognize on his record is Michael Soro, who to me is just a mid-level guy. So I mean, hey, all due respect to Magomedov, he's won the title, he's done what he's had to do, but he's got 14 fights in, and I think it's going to be interesting early, but I think this is one of those fights where maybe I would not be surprised if Terence Crawford just walked, completely picked him apart and took him out.
Right. I think they picked him because of that, because his like, if you look at Terence when guys are aggressive. So Madrimov is very aggressive.
Very wild too, by the way. He gets wild.
And those mistakes are tailor-made for Crawford's style. Like when he reaches out and he extends himself a little too much, I think that's when Crawford's going to strike. The way I see it playing out is I think it's going to be like the first 3 rounds are going to go to Madrimov as Crawford, starts slow. He's just downloading all that info, figuring him out, getting his timing right. And then he just steps on the gas after that. And, I hear a lot of people just saw the boxing people talking about, it's going to be a tough fight. I think any fight at this level is going to be tough. At the same time, look at what Crawford did to an aggressive Spence. When you're aggressive, when he won his title at 147, again, another aggressive fighter came after him, and you can't fight Crawford that way because that's what he wants. He wants you to be aggressive. He wants you to come after him. And I just, I think Joel Diaz, huge respect for Joel, man, what he has done with fighters over the years. If he's going to get a guy, if there's any guy that's going to get a guy ready for a fight, it's going to be him. I think they'll look at all aspects. I just hope that those mistakes that he makes, that they've had enough time in camp to be able to correct or not, train himself out of that. But I think once he gets deeper into the fight and begins to take some shots from Crawford, he's going to go back to what he knows. And, that's the old cliche, but it's true,
Well, yeah, and, you said it. Hey, look, Terence Crawford has, been a multi-weight world champion, undisputed in 2 different ones. Hey, look, it's at the end of the day, of course, Joel Diaz is a hell of a trainer. He's going to have his guy ready to go, as ready as he can have him. But it's a humongous ask to come in and beat a guy, 40-year-old guy. He's knocked out his last 11. And it's just, his mental state and his confidence is through the roof at all times. Bud Crawford, right now, he's on the cusp of, he knows that, going through this guy could be his meal ticket to Canelo. And, I've spent some time with Bud. He's a cold individual. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's going to be semi-competitive early, but, this guy, he's stepping up into a whole nother echelon, even though he's the guy, he's in the bigger weight. I don't see Bud Crawford having too many issues with him. That being said, this is boxing. Anything could happen. They're world-class fighters, but I see a kind of a walkthrough right there for Bud.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where they've been super polite to each other, because Bud is one of those guys, if you're polite to him, he's going to be polite. But
Sure.
if you
Sure.
push him and you wake him up on that, because he's got that edge to him that not a lot of guys like. He's mean in the ring, like he's just a
Sure.
mean guy. And I've watched it. We've all watched him torture guys who were talking shit during the buildup. And I heard that they got into it back behind the scenes before they came out for their press conference. And then Eddie doing what Eddie did. Did you see Eddie on the field over at the soccer stadium? I'm like, dude, why is Eddie doing that? Don't poke the bear.
Well, hey, look, they're all working together. I mean,
right.
That's how you're going to make these fights. I mean, nothing's going to stop what's going to happen on Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's going to be what it's going to be. The more they're able to build it up and sell it on pay-per-view, all power to them. These guys are making a lot of money, and deservedly so. So I think we're just in for a good feat and a good night of boxing. I look more to the undercard rather than the main event. I know the main event's going to be a great fight, but like I said, the Ruiz and Miller, and then you got Jared Anderson and Bakole. I mean, come on, these guys are going to be letting it go. So I really can't wait for those fights. It's going to be good to finally watch, a card that's pretty full from top to bottom.
Right, and it's crazy to see, like, if you look at the card, like, any one of these fights should be a main event on a typical night in boxing.
Sure.
So you're getting, potentially five main events, 6 main events.
Yeah, that's right.
Easily. And so to see, like, Andy Ruiz, Big Baby, a 50-50 fight, I'm curious to see what those guys have left. I mean, obviously, Andy's been off for 2 years.
Right.
Big Baby didn't look good in his last fight. How much is he going to come in? Is he going to come at 300 pounds, or is he going to get it, come down? And then how big is, Andy going to be? You got two unlikely athletes getting in there who've got power,
right.
Knockout power, and anything happens in the heavyweight division. So
yeah, fighters nonetheless. I think we expect from everybody, because of this new influx of like promotion from Riyadh season and Turkey Al Shalik. These guys want to make sure they show their best. Everybody wants to get in on this. This guy has opened up the checkbook with Riyadh season. So any fighter that gets on this card is going to try to put forth their best effort. So, yeah, people should watch these cards because they want to get back on these cards and they want to fight for these guys again because this is prize fighting. And you want to be on the biggest shows and making the biggest money. And that's what this is right now, ultimately. So a lot of people are going to be some guys are going to be fighting for their careers, and some guys are going to be fighting for a legacy, So it's really a great mix. Guys, like I said, you got guys like Ruiz and Miller fighting for their careers. Andy Cruz is just starting his career. Morrell as well. He's trying to break himself into it. You know what I mean? And Pitbull and Israil. It's top to bottom. You just can't miss. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I really do hope that the casuals tune in because they're going to be able to see like Jared Anderson, right? This guy, top ranked fighter. They have high hopes for him. I mean, this is their big, obviously they have a piece of Tyson Fury, but they didn't grow Tyson from the start of his career. Jared had from day one, and this is their guy that they believe is going to be the next heavyweight champion of the world. So, and he's American. And so if you're an American boxing fan, casual, you want to see what's coming up in the heavyweight division. Jared Anderson is going to be that guy, and I would love to see him showcase his talent, get a good – I mean, he's got a tough fight ahead of him, but it's if he gets a spectacular knockout, you have potential superstar in the making.
That's what it is, man. It's the heavyweight division,
Right.
He's got to show out. This is the platform, big stadium, LA, this is it. It should be great. Right.
And then you got David Morrell. Like I'm I'm a little bummed he went up to 175 because I would love to see him at I want to see. I mean, basically the fight to make. Like if you can't get Canelo, which Morrell and Benavidez want Canelo, and Canelo's done everything he needs to do. He's kind of just on a retire. I feel like he's on a retirement tour, just taking on guys that
Sure.
they're not. He's not taking on the top contenders. That aside, the best fight in 168, 175 is David Benavidez versus David Morrell. And so if people haven't seen David Morrell and seen how good he is, I mean, Cuban style,
Right.
big boy, has power as well and he can box with that Cuban style. I think he gives David Benavidez a hell of a time. If eventually they get in the ring together, I don't think they're gonna. We're probably not gonna see them fight in at least the next year, because obviously Benavidez doesn't want to take any risks. He wants that Canelo fight, and if he loses any fight at any point before he gets it, then probably fights off. But I would love fans to get to know Dave Morrell, because that's only going to make the Benavidez when he does get in the ring with David Benavidez, that's going to be an amazing fight with those two guys. So
I agree, brother.
So we're looking.
Man, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Right,
it should be fun. It's going to be a great card, and yeah, man,
and it's
going to
cool.
be nice.
It's cool for fans too, because it makes it easy as far as what Riyadh season is doing. You can watch it. It's basically $80. You can watch it on Amazon, ESPN Plus, or you can buy it on Amazon, buy it on ESPN Plus, buy it on DAZN, or just regular cable television. So this is all new. I mean, you've never been able to buy until Riyadh season the pay-per-view on any platform that you want, and so it makes it very easy for fans to purchase it. So
no, totally, it's gonna be good, man. I'm looking forward to it. Mondo, I gotta get out of here. I'm running a little bit late, but let's catch up after the fights.
Right. Yeah, let's catch up. It'll be fun, and it's an early. I think the opening fights start at 1:00, so it's they've adjusted the time for people overseas. So
no, it'll be good. I think there's gonna be a lot of good fights in the card, and like I said, the televised cards they're gonna be on fire, man. I can't wait for I love when the heavyweights fight, and I love Pitbull Cruz as well. So I think everybody's in for a treat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something that's it's gonna be fun, man, and I hope we get more of these cards in the US.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sounds good, bro. We'll catch up soon. Let's catch up during the fights. We'll throw you some texts.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, brother. Cheers. Good night.
All right, babe.